violence, racial strife. Blacks who have some economic and educational stability and foundation are still making a go in these towns. So much so that after Hattie and Jesse have this furniture store, my great-grandfather, James Henry Bryant, goes to Oklahoma, follows them, right? And he has my great-aunt, Mildred Bryant Jones. So she ends up being born from Florence Washington Bryant there in Nowata, Oklahoma, in 1908. And then shortly after that, they moved back to Kansas, but Mildred Bryant Jones's, birth certificate says Oklahoma. The aunt of Mildred Bryant Jones goes to, like H.H., and I'm assuming C.B. Bryant goes to Emporia State at the age of 16. She stays there for 2 years and does well, have her grades, and have her transcripts, and she does well. And her parents decide, your cousin is now, at this point, C.B. is an administrator and a professor at Langston University. Why don't you go to Langston University? So she packs up at 18. Her parents take her to Langston University and leave her with Lucy, right, the matriarch of Indian Territory, Oklahoma. And she lives there in the home with Lucy. And then she meets a good-looking, smart man who's a bellhop at one of the finest hotels in Muskogee, Oliver Weaver. And he is advancing his education and his career as well. Trying to see where I know my time is running out. If you go to this page here, you'll see Muskogee, Oklahoma Teachers Association. And in that picture, you will see Myrtle. Myrtle, I really want to do a lot more research on Myrtle. Myrtle is C.B. and H.H. Bryant's sister, who has her teaching credentials. She's kind of the sad sack spinster. She lives with her mother up until she's 30 years old. She's teaching in the school. She's successful by any means, but she doesn't have she doesn't have the status symbol of having a man. She's not married. By this time, her good-looking cousin comes from Kansas, Maddie Bryant, picks up Mr. Oliver Weaver, gets married. It's in the society pages. And her mother dies. Lucy dies. And poor spinster Myrtle ends up moving in with them. She's 20 years older than her cousins, and she ends up living the rest of her life living with them. Very interesting, but it gives you a sense of what was going on with trans identities, transracial identities, transmigrations, and how you build on one foundation to another. And it also says an awful lot about us as a family in terms of making connections, right? Yeah. Keeping in contact, trading information, and being able to build resources in terms of taking from, say, Brian Van Brinkle. I always bother him and say, what do you think about this idea? Should I do X, Y, or Z? I'll call, who else? Well, I call Vicky all the time, but I email her. I email her all the time. So, but trading this information, right, and keeping those connections alive, and being able to help one another. Glenn, I told Glenn that Heather's husband is an air traffic controller, right? So, and Glenn goes, well, my brother's a retired air traffic controller. I'd love to talk to him. Those are the types of things that the Bryants did, right? Without the aid of phone calls, without the aid of faxes, without the aids of social media. And somehow they made it work, and they got us to where we are here today. So thank you very much.